Hi, Stuart. This is Melissa. I have actually two questions.
Yes.
My first question is that in spiritual cannibalism, Rudy talks about not living from your attentions. And I was wondering if you can, or the unconsciousness of living from your attentions. And I was wondering if you could talk about that. And then my other question is that lately during class with you, I noticed that the more I'm trying to open and relax, I actually just feel more tense and more full. And so I'm wondering if there's something I need to be attending to.
Yes. Well, first question about tension. Most people live unconsciously wrapped up in all their tension. They use their tension to create the reality they see around them. And it's why so much of reality is so conflicted, because it comes from the chaos that exists inside human beings. And it's an unconscious use of tension. A conscious use of tension would be to draw the tension into the third chakra, then draw the energy of the third chakra through the sex to the base of the spine. And then that tension, it becomes, like Rudy always said, it's like compost, and it'll produce this extraordinary inner life for a human being if it's used consciously. If it's not used consciously, we get lost in the whirl of material things, money, this, all this stuff that's absolutely finite. I'm not saying we don't need money. We do need money because we have to live here, and everybody would like to live in a very good way. But the thing is that all of this material stuff, it becomes God. We worship it. And it becomes the sole motivating energy that exists in the lives of people. And it's a product of tension. It's a product of fear, of insecurity. It's a product of so much, stuff that runs rampant inside people that it consumes them. It consumes their life. And ultimately, it all amounts to nothing. So when he's talking about don't let your unconsciousness get, you know, wrapped up in your tension, it's really a universal principle that almost everybody in this planet lives that way. Their ego, their will, all the things that are created, these monster corporations, and it's a product of people's minds and it's a product of people's tension. And that's what creates the world around us. And look what we have here. It's, and the thing is that people can earn wonderful livings in life. And at the same time, they can also be quiet inside, they can be calm, they can use whatever they earn, to help develop their spiritual life, and it becomes a positive use of tension. So the first step is learning how to draw tension into the third chakra, transforming it into chi. And instead of being conflict and nervousness and neurosis and anxiety, it becomes harmony, it becomes balance, it's transformed into energy that builds that kind of inner life in a human being. And then what irradiates out into the world, you understand, is, as I always say, is love, it's compassion, it's living on a much different level that people ordinarily live. So, Rudy was well aware of that. He had a huge business going on, and he always told me that he has to learn how to do his business without his business doing him. He always said that to me. He said, he wanted to give it all. He once gave it all, the whole thing to Muktananda. He said, Baba, you want my business? You can have my business. You can have everything. All I want in return is a spiritual life. Now, I don't think Swami Muktananda would have known how to run an Oriental art business, but, or the complexity of Rudy's life, but, and I'll never forget, he also told me something that stayed with me in such a profound way. He said he saw Bhagwan Nityananda go to sleep on a potato sack. He said in his life, he never saw an energy force as powerful as Bhagwan Swami Nityananda. And at night, he went to sleep on a potato sack. He said, Stuart, in my own way, I would love to get my life that simple. To burn through all, he had used real estate. He was quite a wealthy guy. And he said, I would like to get my life that simple. Because what he saw in Swami Nityananda was infinite energy in the universe moving through him, nurturing anyone who came to him that wanted to be nurtured. And to me, that is a conscious use of tension. I mean, as long as we're alive, we're going to have tension. But then is, what do we do with it? How do we use it? How does it help us to grow? How does it help us to get a deeper sense of inner peace and a deeper sense of our connection to God? And the only way I've discovered how this works is the development of a chakra system that's strong enough to transform all of our tension into a spiritual life. Which, as I say, it doesn't mean we don't live in the world and we're not successful in the world and have money and have all the things that success brings with it. It just means that all of that stuff doesn't have us. We can live with it, enjoy it, love it, the richness of it, and it doesn't have us. It is not our master. Our master is connection with God, higher energy in the universe. And the second question, you have to repeat it.
Yes, that was a very thorough answer you gave. The second question was that recently I've noticed when I'm sitting with you in class that that it doesn't take very long, and it feels like there's a lot of like rocks and stones and like drywall in my body. So there's a lot of tension. And the more I try to relax and keeping my tension in the third chakra, at least as far as I'm aware of, it's just kind of suffocating. And so I'm wondering if there's
Yeah, Melissa, it's a battle of dragons. You have a lot of tension inside you, right? And it's a battle of dragons. And what you're doing now is you're digging it up. It's coming to the surface. And it's going to be a struggle to be able to master that. But it's the greatest struggle in the world. Because once you learn to master that, man, your whole life gets transformed. You don't have to make it happen anymore. It just happens. You don't have to force it to open. It just opens. You have transformed and learned to master all of that tension inside yourself. And now it's coming up. This meditation that I teach is very strong. It's very powerful. And it really is like drilling for oil inside yourself, The gusher comes, got to go through, miles of bedrock you know, to get to the oil. And it's a good metaphor for what goes on inside a human being. And then it starts coming up. And I'll tell you, most people leave the work when that starts coming up. Scares the shit out of them. It takes a lot of guts to be able to confront and deal with yourself and your situation and the tensions inside one, the negative things we have repressed inside ourselves. And then at one point, it all starts coming up. And that's the point. You know, it's the crossroads. Am I going to go to where I can sit and just sip Coco Locos and, and get a fat ass for the rest of my life? Or am I going to really work through this thing? One path leads to the Coco Locos, the other one leads to, you know, it's a battle of dragons. You know, it's like the fairy tales in the Middle Ages where the knights would confront a dragon. And on the other side of the dragon was the pot of gold or the damsel in distress, you know? And it's that kind of fairy tale, but it exists inside each and every one of us. And there is a point where we get to that crossroad, you know, and well, am I going to, or am I going to go spend the rest of my life sitting in a rocking chair drinking Coco Locos? Or am I going to go slay the dragon and get to that pot of gold on the other side? And how do you slay the dragon? By developing a chakra system that's strong enough to absorb all that negativity, transform it into chi, transform it into an open heart, into love. So, my dear, you're at the crossroads. And I think you have enough guts not to go the path that leads to the Coco Loco.
That's fantasy. Thank you. I hear you. So it's really like leaning in
Well,
more.
it's very literary, but it's very true. We all arrive at that point in time and space where we have to make that choice. And even people that sit there and drink the martini and the cocoa, you know, you ever try to talk to them? You know, there's so much tension inside them and so much unhappiness usually, you know.
Sure.
I mean, I reached that point. I really, when I was 16 years old, it was, am I going to grow up to become, you know, a replica of the people that live in my family? Or am I going to go adventure out and try to find Rudy? I didn't know it was Rudy when I was 16, but to try to find somebody like that who can completely transform my life and give me a much deeper, you know, way of looking at the world. And not a way even of looking at the world, but of living in it, you know? When I was 16 years old when that happened to me, you know? And 9 years, well, boy, I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to live through those 9 years again. It was impossible. I mean, it wasn't just one dragon. I mean, it was so many dragons. Does anyone else have a question? I just have a few announcements to make. Like some of you live not too far from me, and on Saturday I'm going to have a meditation class here. You're welcome to come. There are already 3 or 4 people that have signed up, and I don't have room for many more. So if you'd like to attend, please let me know so I can just reserve a spot for you. It's at 6 o'clock this Saturday. And there was another thing, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I just want to clarify, I'm not against money. I've had a lot of money in my life, and the money provided an amazing life for me. It really did. I lived in fantastic lofts and houses, and it cost a lot of money to do that. And it gave me a real taste of what money can provide for somebody. And I enjoyed it. At the same time, I was constantly using, everything was for the purpose of running a meditation. Everything. House I had in Woodstock, the loft I had on 4th Avenue, the loft I had on 13th Street and Broadway. The sole purpose was, you know, to provide a place for people to do deep spiritual practice. But I enjoyed it, I mean, it provided a wonderful way for me to live, and I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying that, we can't get trapped in that material world without having some kind of inner work to give us the strength to deal with the material world without allowing it to consume us. And then you can have both worlds. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, thank you. Bless you all. My teachers here. I know it, spiritual teachers not supposed to say that, but you are. Every single one of you is teaching me something that I need to know about myself and making it possible for me to grow in my life. So God bless you all. And thank you for participating in this and being here. And there'll be a class on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Also, I'm doing this blog and I keep announcing it. So there's going to be another one, I think, on Saturday. Bob Sink is uploading them on the blog on my website. And check them out. If you have friends that are in chat, them check out. I like to write, and I don't plan on writing any more, 300 and 400 page books. I mean, I've done enough of that. And this is simple and it's not hard for me to do. And it really says a lot of very profound things. So you can check it out and go to the my website and check it out. So God bless you all and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Sunday.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.